members of the financial sector, good afternoon. Let me first, on my own behalf and on behalf of my government, appreciate that we are having a conversation today about hustlers. This is very important to me. And I remember when I was informed about this meeting and about what Safaricom and your partners were intended to do. I was actually planning to have a meeting with you. So I think somebody must have leaked to you that, that I was looking for you, because I have been sent by your customers. The people who cannot make it to your offices, the people who cannot make it to the negotiating table, have sent me to you, because they want the relationship between you and them to be mutual, and they want a win-win outcome out of the relationship that you have with them. Because they can't find their way to your good offices, they have given me instructions to come and speak to you about their issues. And I am happy that you already are walking in the correct trajectory. The announcements you have made here are very positive, in the right direction. I am very confident that walking this journey in the direction you have started, we will get to the correct destination. You are aware that in the last several months in the campaign, Fuliza was a very popular word in our campaign. And I'm happy that you are listening. And because you are listening, today you have made a very positive statement on matters Fuliza. First, I am very happy that between 4 and 5 million Kenyans will, by beginning of November, they will be out of the blacklisting. That is very important. Very important, because these 4 million Kenyans have been excluded from any formal borrowing because of blacklisting, and they have been left at the mercy of shylocks and predatory lenders that exploit them. And many Kenyans pay as much as 1,000% for credit. The fact that they will now be out of that space is a very positive development. And I want to commit here that the government of Kenya is not against credit listing or credit bureau facilities. In fact, we support CRBs as a mechanism of instilling financial discipline in our financial sector. What we are asking, and I think we are on the same page on this, and I've had a long conversation with the governor, what we are asking is, we don't want credit listing to be an all or nothing, in or out engagement. We want credit listing to be a facility that gives everybody a chance to be their best in their own time. Instead of saying you are in or out, we should have a credit scoring mechanism so that we have graduated from the least to the best. And everybody can have a chance, even if you are somewhere at the bottom, you can always walk your way up as you learn the ropes in the financial sector. So I am happy Governor has told me they are having engagement with the CRBs so that we can change the credit listing mechanism. Instead of blacklisting, we can have a graduated mechanism that allocates rating on every citizen that is borrowing in the manner in which they have borrowed and in the manner in which they have paid back. That happens even for countries when we are borrowing money from IMF, from the World Bank. That is a universal principle of rating people on, or scoring people on matters credit. So that development is a very positive development for the millions of Kenyans who suffer great loss. They are excluded from formal borrowing, and they are also excluded from many other things. Some people lose jobs. Some people lose opportunity to be hired because when they are asked to bring their credit listing status, if you are blacklisted, then you are told you are not a very good person. So that will now redeem close to 4 million Kenyans, and I want to say to Safaricom and your partners, you're walking in the right direction. Secondly, we have agreed, and I am happy the CEO of Safaricom has announced here that access to Fuliza, the interest rate will come down by 50%. That is a step in the right direction. And many people will benefit from this step. I am very confident that we can do more and we can do better. And I want to encourage Safaricom and your partners to continuously assess this facility so that progressively we can move towards a much more favorable interest regime that gives majority of Kenyans the opportunity to have flexible arrangements on their financial requirements. I also want to say the following, that Fuliza is addressing a certain category of borrowers on short term. As you have indicated yourselves, there is more traction towards 14 days, 11, 14 days. It should speak to you that you need to think about other instruments and other facilities that should be able to take care of a slightly longer term borrowers. I also want to state here that the government of Kenya, and I have the nominee for Treasury here and the nominee for ICT here, these two gentlemen will be working with you in the financial fintech space because we want to work on credit, especially for our micro, small, and medium enterprises. That is the space where we have the largest opportunity. That is the space that employs almost 80% of our population, and yet they are constrained by access to credit. I have listened to many of them in the campaign trail. I was giving these good people an example of Shiko in Ruaka Market and her team. They borrow 1 million shillings every day, and they pay as high interest as 10% per day, which translates into 3,600% per year. Shiko and her team, they don't want free money. They are telling me, Mr. President, can we pay the same interest that Kenya Breweries is paying? Can we pay the same interest that the big companies are paying? That's all they're asking, and I don't think it's too much to ask. So, progressively, and the assignment I'm going to be giving to these two gentlemen is to work with you in the private sector to develop a product where Shiko, a mamamboga in Ruaka, and a boda person can also have access to credit at single-digit rate. And I am willing to work with you in a public-private arrangement so that we can mitigate some of the risks that come with lending to that category of Kenyans. I am very confident. I am very confident that if we give Shiko and her team, and many of them in Kenya, the opportunity to borrow at single-digit interest rate, they can double, if not triple, their business. And it is good for everybody. It is good for the fintech companies. It is good for the banks. It is good for the taxpayer. It's good for the taxman. And it's also good for me. So I think we can have a win-win. I think it's good. We are going to have a win-win arrangement. So in the short term, the assignment Eliud Owalo and my good friend Professor Njuguna will have is to structure with yourselves the Hustler Fund. We are ready to commit public resources to underwrite some of the risks so that chamas, cooperatives, SACCOs can access credit at single-digit interest rate. This is the future we are looking at. And from where I sit, we can make it a reality in a very short time. Secondly, in this space, we should also, and I have heard from NCPA, we should also find the model that encourages savings. Borrowing functions best when we have savings, because you cannot borrow what you don't have. And we have continuously borrowed the savings of others, and that is why we are becoming slaves to our lenders. It is time every Kenyan, and we are working with other sectors, including NSSF and other financial instruments, to make sure that we take our savings from the current maybe 9, maybe 10% of GDP to 20, 25% of GDP. That way, we can have not just a secure present, but we can also have secure or ensure our future. I am looking forward to working with all the actors in this space to ensure that we build our savings culture and our borrowing must not only be responsible, but it must also be affordable. I like the words the governor said here about affordability. That way, we can spur the activities of many of our micro, small enterprises who are struggling today, not because their enterprises cannot do well, but they are limited by access to credit and access to financing for what they want to do. We will also be working on ensuring that our stock exchange also works better. It can also be another source of making sure that we can raise resources that can help build our enterprises. That is why I have created the Ministry for Trade, Investment and Industry, so that we can look much more closely to our financial markets, work much more closely with our state-owned enterprises, look critically at some of them, and assess the ones we can bring the Kenyan public to be owners of some of these state-owned enterprises, so that we can share in the profits, and we can also release some resources for us to be able to deliver on some of our infrastructure requirements instead of borrowing either from the market locally or borrowing from the external market. We will be working together in this space, and I know I've disturbed the governor a lot with many telephone calls, but I appreciate that he's been forthright and a gentleman. And sometimes when you see too many of my calls, it's because your customers are on my case. So just take it positively. It's nothing personal. It is because somebody must do the bidding for those who cannot access the offices that they need to. So this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, I am very happy to be part of this occasion. I look forward, Ndegwa and your team, I look forward to, we've done, as the governor said, we've made the first step. I hope we'll be making the other steps so that you've come down 50%, maybe we can do another 50%. You know, in those many steps Governor was talking about. So that, you know, there is no harm. We've already set a record for ourselves. M-Pesa in itself is a Kenyan innovation that has really taken the world by storm. Why don't we try another feat that is not only giving us financial inclusion, it is giving us affordable credit. You know, we can begin to walk that journey. And I think you yourselves have seen the value of scale. M-Pesa was 600,000 people. Now it is 20 million, 31 million, you see? So, and you're making more money with charging less than you are charging more with few people. So I think this is I'm not teaching you what to do. You know better than me. So I will encourage you to walk that journey. Governor, please explain to our good friends in the CRB space that it's not our position that we are against CRBs. No, our position is that we should change the model of listing so that we do not make it an all or nothing, and we do not criminalize, and we do not unfairly disadvantage borrowers, but we give them an opportunity to be listed to be scored, so that we have a graduated list that people can work their way up. So let me say I am happy to be part of this very important step in our country, and I look forward to working with you, making credit for millions of citizens accessible. My two friends here will have a clearer brief on what we need to achieve as an administration, and we are going to work with you to make sure that we go that journey together. I'm also happy, Governor, that you are bringing into the regulation space our online betting companies, because we also want them to pay taxes. At the moment, they are operating in a space that is opaque. I know opaque has many connotations lately, and not very positive ones. But that space needs much more clarity, and I am happy that the Central Bank of Kenya is taking steps to bring the actors in the online betting space to regulation so that we can make them much more accountable, and they can also support us build this country by everybody paying their piece and paying their taxes so that we can develop the country together. So otherwise, we will be engaging as we move on, and I look forward to working with you to make sure that we have accessible, affordable credit. It is our intention overall to bring down the cost of living in Kenya. And cost of living has many components. We are working with fertilizer and other actors to bring down the cost of food. We are working with our housing program to bring down the cost of shelter and making sure that